You're listening to the Meet the Farmers podcast with me, your host, Ben Eagle. Please remember to subscribe to the show wherever you are listening. Hello, and welcome to episode 179 of the Meet the Farmers podcast. Now, I have been hoping to bring you a full episode about the CLA conference for this episode, but frustratingly, due to illness reasons on the part of guests, I was unable to pull that all together in time, I'm afraid, but I'm hoping we can bring you something linked to that in the new year. It would be really good to get some representation from the CLA on the pod. I did go along to the conference though, and had a really good day. The day was divided in two, in essence, between the political sessions in the morning, during which we learnt pretty much nothing new at all. Therese Coffey is very fresh into the job, so perhaps I was being slightly hopeful that we'd hear something tangible from her, but hopefully we will get more, especially about Elms at Oxford next month. What is clear is that patience regarding future payment structures is waning, and DEFRA can't keep kicking the tin further down the road. That was definitely the impression I was getting from delegates. The afternoon sessions were, I'm glad to say, far more inspiring, and we heard from several businesses, CICs and charities about some of the work that they're doing on the ground to improve lives for rural people, including new fibre networks and programs for prisoner rehabilitation, among other things. On the negative side, we heard some pretty frustrating and some downright sad cases of failures in the planning system. I mean, does DEFRA need to get its act together? Yes. Do rural businesses need more certainty in order to plan? Yes. Does the planning system continue to hold businesses back? It seems so. Are rural businesses determined to grow and develop, though? Yes, I think they are. So that was the CLA conference in a nutshell. But today on the podcast, we have a new entrant who flipped his career as a chef on its head to go sheep farming. Karl Franklin is on the show. Today, we're heading to West Oxfordshire to meet sheep farmer Yellow Welly's ambassador, Karl Franklin. Karl started his farming journey with just 12 store lambs back in 2015 when he was still working as a chef full-time. And until recently, he was also running a gardening business, but now spends all of his time farming, both in his own right, with around 100 ewes across 150 acres of permanent pasture. And he also works for a neighbouring farm as their shepherd, working with around 200 ewes there. He's built quite a following on Instagram the past couple of years and is known as the Pretend Farmer. He's also a former NFU student and young farmer ambassador. Karl, welcome to Meet the Farmers. How's your week going?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, no, it's going well, thanks. It stopped raining here, so I'm quite pleased about
that. Tell us about your part of the world, because you're on the edge of the Cotswolds. And I mean, you must be fairly near Mr. Clarkson and Mr. Cooper, and also Matt Izod, who came on the podcast, I think it was about 20 episodes ago or so.
Matt, I'm not sure. I know Matt, but I'm not sure exactly where he farms.
Okay.
I border Mr. Cooper.
Oh, really?
I'm his neighbour, yeah. And when I had coffee with him yesterday morning, in fact.
Yeah, I remember that on your story actually now.
Yeah, and Clarkson is the other side. So I'm Chipping Norton. So I'm one side. Clarkson is the other side of Chipping Norton. Yeah, we're just on the edge of the Cotswolds, which is really nice. So that's where I work, but then home for me is about half an hour away from there. So I'm Whitney based. Yeah, so slightly closer towards Oxford way, if you like.
Okay. Does this mean because you're so close, you've had some sneak previews of any filming of the new series?
No, sadly not. No.
Damn it! I wanted a scoop, Karl.
I couldn't get anything out of Caleb yesterday, so I'm no good, I'm afraid.
No, you're not from a farming background, so tell me about your life growing up, and I suppose where your interest in farming came from.
Yeah, so as you said, no background at all. My grandparents have got a small holding, so it came from there. And being I grew up in a village, so whether you want to be involved in farming or not, it's there on your doorstep to enjoy. So it's been there. My grandfather was a gamekeeper, so I've always been sort of involved in it all, but sort of subconsciously, and had no aspirations to go into farming at all. from school, agriculture isn't a thing. They don't even like, it was never mentioned at school at all.
Yeah. I mean, food is
So
barely a thing.
yeah. Thankfully, they still did a GCSE in catering when I was at
Oh,
school. So
really? Okay.
yeah, we ran it. They ran it for like 3 years.
Yeah, which
They
I'm
don't even
guessing
do.
I'm guessing you did.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't really have any idea what I wanted to do. I did a cooking competition by chance at school, won it, and I was like, okay, I must be all right at this then. And then I went, wow, I don't know what else I want to do. I'll do catering at school. Did that, enjoyed it, and then when I got an apprenticeship and went from there. So farming was really nothing. I never did it. I just saw it and was like, yeah, that happens, and and went from there really.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with my grandparents having a small holding, I've always made hay. So I've always, that's not farming, but I've always made hay and either sold it to somebody with a yard or whatever. So that's where it sort of stemmed from, and then was like, I can make more money than just cutting one lot of hay a year, hence buying 12 sheep. And
Yeah.
that was my downward spiral from there.
One, one thing led to another.
Yeah.
Let's stick with the food side first of all. I mean, tell me a little bit about the apprenticeship, because this is what I'm particularly interested in, is your route, I suppose, through food. So food is the connection here.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the apprenticeship and what it actually involved and what you took from it.
Yeah. So I just did, wow, probably more hours than I legally probably should have done back then, but we'll glaze over that. Yeah. So I just originally was going to just go to college, do like full-time college, and then for that you had to apply for, I know you had to do like write a dissertation on a restaurant. So I went to a restaurant that we knew, and they turned around and said, "You want an apprenticeship?" So I was like, "Great!" So I went from level 1 to level 2 in like one day, because I went straight to an apprenticeship, which starts at level 2. So we did that for a year, and then the place I worked for wouldn't let me do the second year. So I worked for them for another year, got a year chefing under belt, and then actually got headhunted and went for a second place
Okay.
locally. So yeah, you just do 4 days a week at a restaurant, and then you do one day a week. I went into Oxford, one of the local like catering college in Oxford, and did like the theory side of it, like learning all your French classic cooking and the stuff that you are out of fashion. You don't do them in kitchens anymore.
Did you cook before you started that?
Yeah, I loved food. I absolutely loved cooking. I don't anymore, but I did back then.
It's
And
been driven out of you.
yeah, you joke, but that is literally what has happened. But no, so yeah, I loved cooking. I did a day at Le Manoir
Really?
on the day cooking school, which was my goal. I wanted to own a restaurant and cook. And back then, I wanted to cook British, while home cooked food is what I've always wanted to do. So the strive to deal with British food has always been there. I just happen to now farm it rather than cook it. So yeah, British food has been on the cards forever. The competition I won back then was to produce a 3-course meal that was sustainably sourced and locally sourced and within season. So literally everything I harp on about on Instagram, I was already doing and producing menus back in the day. And when I was head chef, and at that level, I on a weekly basis, daily basis, if the veg man, I would be like, right, you're buying seasonal. If you can buy as good a quality as the UK, don't bring me the cheaper version that's imported. I will just send it back out of my kitchen. And they learn very quickly that I am serious. And if you are bringing me in a foreign imported, I don't want it. Send
Yeah.
it home. And the same with the butchers. They used to probably get fed up with me because I would ask the origins of every single thing that came in, because I wanted it to be seasonal and local and British. So yeah, I've always been a one for wanting to buy British.
Yeah, yeah. And this is I mean this is one of the things that fascinates me, because I mean you, as you said, you became a head chef at a Two Rosette restaurant, and you clearly had a great passion for it. You've got a passion for food. You rose through the ranks, and you had a good skill set. So why did you stop, and would you rule out going back into it?
I'll never put a pair of chef whites back on again.
Really? Why is
Uh,
that?
I just fell out of love of it. Just out now. I like every farmer pull fairly good hours now,
Yeah.
but nothing same to the same of chefing. I lost genuinely all social life I had.
Yeah.
I was there 6 days a week. And the seventh day, I was either calling in to make sure the orders were done,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
or not switching off and being at home, and not being at home because my brain was still there. And it just killed it for me. I was office based, and I wasn't on the front cooking food. I was in
Yeah.
an office making sure the GP was at the same GP percent was right, and the orders were coming in, and the company I was working for changed hands, so it was becoming much more intensive, and the control of what menus were being decided was done by a guy in an office, because that made us the most profit. It wasn't done in house, and it just all I only head chef for 6 months, and I said I would. When the company changed, they sacked the head chef. I was sous chef, and they said, well, we've been with me for 5 years.
Yep.
You know the company better than anybody else. You've seen every problem in that kitchen twice over. You know how to resolve them.
Yep.
You're the best guy for this point in the business to be head chef. If I applied for a head chef role there somewhere else, I wouldn't have got it because I hadn't got the experience in lots of places, but I'd got the experience of that place. So I
That
said to them, I'll
specific
do
place.
6 months, see what it happens. And I was just getting to the point, I was driving to work and wishing I wasn't very well, so I couldn't go in, or finding an excuse to not go to work. And I was like, this isn't healthy. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be like trying to not go to work. I should want to get up and go to work. So I literally got up one morning and went, I'm handing my notice in.
Yeah.
I'm out. Like, I've got to get out of this. Like, this is not healthy.
Yeah.
I really wasn't in a good place. So yeah, I literally genuinely woke up and went, right, I'm out, and handed my notice in to nothing to go to. Mum and dad own a gardening business, so they said, well, give it a go. Like, even if you just do it for 6 months a year, just to give us a hand because we're so busy. And that's the plan. I wanted, at that point, I wanted to go farming, but I wasn't big enough. I had no experience to apply for a farming job. I also didn't want to go backwards. Like, I didn't want to go and get an apprenticeship because I was 21. Like, I'd done my time of being someone's dog body, if you know what I mean. Like, I'd done all of that, and I just, yeah. So I went and started gardening. But
Okay.
I don't regret the chefing at all, and I loved it. And I think it puts me in a good state that I can hold a conversation with a chef, somebody wanting to cook, a butcher, and a farmer now. Like, I've got those three things. I can talk to everybody. I understand what consumer wants, and all the way down to how to farm it now. Like, I understand it all. So it benefits me that way. But and I like, if I'm in the mood, I'll cook food, and I don't mind cooking at home. But no, to go back, I see chefs cooking, and I'm going to a restaurant. I'm like, fair play. I've been there, but I couldn't think of anything worse now. Like,
Yeah. Do you
no.
and we're sort of jumping about the story here a bit, but do you
Yeah,
sell
sorry.
any of your no, it's completely my fault, but do you sell any of your lambs
Yeah,
to
all my
restaurants?
land.
And does anything go to that specific place?
No, none go to there.
Oh, that would be nice.
I used to, when I worked there, we used to
Okay.
take my lambs. I'd sell some to an old head chef of mine, so they go straight into Oxford, which is nice. But no, all the rest of my lamb goes straight to a box, straight to consumer. Because the problem is with restaurants is, unless you've got a head chef that knows how to butcher an animal, they just want primal cuts. They're not interested in having the knowledge to do breast of lamb or the neck. And obviously you only get so many off of a lamb. So it's having that skill to be able to use everything, and not being able to just go, right, I need 6 legs tomorrow. So it's being able to work with restaurants to understand, like, the time frame as well. Like, chefs don't understand that because they ring the butcher and say, yeah, I need 20 chops tomorrow. The butcher just has them and they arrive, and job's done. Whereas farming, obviously, we just can't pluck that out of the air. You've got to have that lead time. So it's sort of getting restaurants and chefs to learn that if you want the better quality, or you want to buy direct from farm, it doesn't work that you just ring up a farmer and say, I need that tomorrow, because it doesn't work like that. So
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
I've met some great examples of situations where you have farmers and butchers, say, or restaurateurs working in a sort of local network, but I always find that it sort of seems to be few and far between just those examples. Would you
yeah,
say say that as an industry as a whole, and that I'm talking about the entire supply chain there, or I suppose local direct supply chains from local farmers local outlets, butchers, restaurants. Could we do more to be connecting those two together?
Absolutely. It's getting farmers to understand how restaurants work, and restaurants and chefs to understand how the farming industry works, and yeah, trying to link them up. And also, chefs always think because they're buying direct from farm, they should be getting it cheaper from the butchers, but they don't understand that the butchers can get it cheaper because they're buying en masse.
Yep.
And they're not paying. So it's well, like everything, and I'm sure we'll say this plenty of times today. It's education. That's what it boils down to, and getting them both to learn how it works, which helps me because I've done both, so I understand both. Like I can switch my hats and understand both of them, and the difficulties of it. But yeah, it is very much. It would be great, yeah, to link more up. But it's chefs on a Saturday night or a Friday night running out of something, and there's no way you can get that from a farm unless they happen to hold stock.
Yeah,
it only works if it's a special, I think, is how it would work. You can't really do it on a regular basis,
yeah,
unless you've got. And sadly, chefing world, we're digressing now, but chefing world,
that's fine.
you're losing skill set now, sadly. You don't have the same skill set that you'd have 10 years ago. There's not the chefs coming through like in agriculture, and you're getting that bigger gap of like fine dining where they'll take the chefs, but the bottom line, like your average ones, because food is so expensive, you don't want to pay the labor, so it's quicker to buy it in and chuck it in a fryer and just turn it out en masse than it is to have somebody there to be able to butcher up a lamb and know the skill. So it's changing. That's an industry that's changing as the same as agriculture is, because there isn't the people wanting to go in. Even when I was at college, they were laying off lecturers at college because there wasn't the students coming up through, and that was 10 years ago, because you think people don't want to go in agriculture, people definitely don't want to go into chefing.
Let's go back to the timeline. So let's keep us on track somehow. So you joined the gardening business. So you're making your money doing gardening. You buy your first few store lambs in 2015. So this is a few years after that, I assume. So tell me about sort of that crossover time and why that happened.
So if you'd asked me when I bought store lambs, or a couple of years on, I would have told you I'm never going to go into breeding. There's no money in it.
Yeah.
All I'm going to carry on doing is make my hay in the summer, buy my store lambs, run them for the winter, get rid of them, yada, yada, yada. I still like a holiday in the summer.
Yeah.
God forbid I'm ever having lambs, breeding stock. Then I took on a block of grazing of, I don't know, 20 odd acres. But the condition was I couldn't cut it for hay because it was a bit steeped. Like it just doesn't, it sits a bit wet at the top. It's banked. You can't make hay off it.
Okay.
I said yes as I sold my store lambs. I had nothing to graze it, so I went, I'll just go buy some ewes. So right. I then bought some ewes, and then COVID hit. So I literally bought them. No, I bought them during COVID. Yeah, I bought them in the June of COVID is when I bought them. So I sold the last of my lambs just as COVID was coming in, and then I bought my first ewes, bought my first 36 shearlings in the beginning of COVID.
You took the leap then,
and then was like, what have I
done? What breeds are we talking?
So the first lot were Texel, Barachon crosses, commercials. Basically, that's what I label them as, is my commercial block. But yeah, I'm slowly getting rid of them, slowly culling them out now. I'm gone into New Zealand Romneys is where my love sits now.
Okay. So with your, was it 36?
Yeah.
36 years. So at that stage, what were your ambitions?
Cool.
What were you thinking about where you were going to go with this? Did you have a plan? Did you have ambition, or was it like sort of, I've got these 36 ewes, what am I going to do now?
At that point, I knew I wanted to go into farming. So I knew that's where I wanted to be. I had done the winter before that, I'd done my first lambing for somebody. So Emma has got to thank. She's one of the people that's helped me get where I am now. Okay. So I went and did a winter lambing with her. Like my business plan had always been, sheep winter, hay summer. That's how I'd done it on, build it up. But I didn't know where I'd go with farming. I'd always thought, well, I'll always have the gardening business probably. I don't know. I've never planned any of it. It's just sort of happened. It's probably my downfall. And then I was like, I want some experience of lambing. Like if I'm ever going to have a flock, I can't do it until I've lambed something. So I went and did the winter for her 1 day a week, like electric fencing and lambing the few that lambed. We think we lambed down 100, 200. I can't remember what it was, but basically I was only there once a week. So it wasn't like I was in the thick of it, but I was still getting some experience. Then I bought these with no plan really. Just I needed some sheep before I lost that bit of grazing. I'll go buy some shearlings off a friend. So I did. And then I bought my first ram off of Emma as well.
Okay. And then
still no
plan. And then very, very recently, you've literally, so you're just farming, you're farming all the time now. So
yeah,
you're working for a neighbor, managing their flock.
Yeah. So again, absolutely no plan at all. I was very happy running my gardening business, have done for 4 years, just taken somebody on. And
really?
So I just literally were in the process of him being self-employed, debating about employing him, trying to expand it. And then I was on the way to the NSA sheep show actually. And a guy texted me and was like, I've been given your number. We're setting up a flock on an arable farm. Would you be interested? Can I give you a ring? And I was like, yeah, give me a ring. Thought in my back ahead, well, I'm not interested. I've got a full-time job already. Like I'm farming 100 sheep. How on earth am I going to add that to my sort of? I also work for a lick bucket company as well, 2 afternoons a week in an office. Right. So I was like, there's no way I can physically fit in running.
Where is the time? Yeah.
Where's the time? Thought, well, I'll inquire, because they've also said like, if you're not interested, can you find, like, see if you know of anybody. If we tell you what it's like, you might know somebody that would be interested. So I was like, yeah, I'll take it on, or come and have a listen, see what you're all about. And then when I went and met them, and we're doing regenerative farming, like we're adding sheep back into the rotation of arable, like literally everything that I'm interested in, and all of that. And I was like, still, how am I going to do this? So then I went home and I talked to my girlfriend and parents and everything, and they're like, well, why don't you take that on and do that as your full-time job? And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. So it gives you the bit more security. I'm still self-employed for them at the minute, but we'll become their full-time employed shepherd once at the minute it's so unknown. We're only running 200. We want to be at 400-500 next year. Yeah, there was no plan to it. Thankfully, the guy that I was going to employ was like, well, I'll just take the business. He was starting up, so it was great because he wanted. Perfect. I was able to give somebody the leg up. He's just taken all my clients over. Brilliant. It's not like I've let anybody down. He's just taken and run with it.
Great.
So it worked sort of perfectly, and now means I get to work and farm full time.
How does it feel as? And I ask this question a lot. But how does it feel as a new entrant into farming? I suppose, how welcoming do you find the farming industry to be generally?
Absolutely, so welcoming. Like I've not met somebody that doesn't want to help me, and that's genuine. Like, and if they can't personally help me, they'll pass my name or give me a contact. Yeah, I think the farming community is fantastic. I've got some fantastic friends that put up with me ringing them on a nearly daily basis, going, oh, how'd you do this or how'd you do that? And they'll just either be like, I'll give you a ring back in a minute, or just spend the time and help. And I can borrow a wrapper system off of somebody, and someone else will come and help me if I need. No, they've genuinely been amazing, and I've never come across somebody that doesn't want to help.
Yeah, and the farming community on social media.
Again, I'm not brave enough to go onto Twitter, so I can't what Twitter's like. But the Instagram,
not brave enough.
No, I don't know. People have always said it's miserable, and you just get attacked on Twitter. So Instagram it seems to be a full-time job as it is. So, but again, the community is just great on there as well. Yeah. It's brilliant. Again, so welcoming, and sometimes I probably don't need as many opinions as I do get from everybody, but I'd rather that than have no conversations at all. And yeah, it's great. And I really like it when people like message and be like, oh, you've made me think twice about where I'm buying my food from, or encouraging me to get into the industry, or showing that you've managed it. So I'll hopefully do it the same. So no, I think it's a fantastic tool for farmers.
Yeah. So when did you start your Instagram account, and why did you start it? Because I think because as we were talking before we started recording, actually, it sort of evolved, didn't it? So you had it
Yeah, so
for a lot
like
longer,
everybody,
and then
I
it
had an
changed.
yeah, I had an Instagram account, and I probably posted like once every 2 years or something on it.
Yeah.
I really didn't do anything with the pretend farmer as a joke, because I'd got 12 sheep and I was like, I'm a farmer now, and then I just got told, no, you're just a pretend farmer. And it sort of
That's how that
stuck.
started. Right.
So that started with that, and then yeah, just started doing a bit. Like, I think I recorded like through a haymaking season, and then I'd get friends be like, "Oh, okay, I didn't realize that's how that was," or "I thought all hay was all straw," and all of those questions you always get. So I was like, "Oh, okay, people find this interesting, so I'll do a bit more." And then I reared some pet lambs for somebody I did like 50 pet lambs for somebody one year. So I filmed all of that, and people really enjoyed it. So then as I just progressed with more and more farming, I just shared more and more. And then before you know it, you're sharing every single day of what you're up to, and whether that's even farming. I seem to share everything, well, within reason. So yeah, it's been really like, I never planned to do any of it. I never went out. I was like, right, I don't see myself as an influencer anyway, but I never went out to try and achieve that. It was just solely, well, as I said, I started the name was a joke as it was. And then, yeah, I just did it for friends. And then you'd gain more, and you'd get invited to do stuff. Like I did the Yellow Wellies asked me to be an ambassador, and I
Yeah,
did
of course.
take over with them. And then the NFU sort of started getting in contact, and I started doing stuff with the NFU, and then became an ambassador for them. And it's just sort of, and then been invited on podcasts, and it's just sort of rolled from there. Really, it's never planned at all. But I
Yeah,
love it. I love doing it.
yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep on going back to this because
Mm.
I know that you say you don't have a plan
Yeah,
at all, and things just happen. But the stage you're at now is certainly with the other flock as well. Um, what would you what is your vision? Where do you see yourself in 10 years time? Do you want to grow your current flock? And if so,
yeah.
how? Would you consider going sidestepping away from sheep, or is sheep your
No,
passion and that's what you
sheep
want to
is my
stick with?
passion. I love, yeah, I wouldn't move off of sheep. I do about 3 days a year cutting straw, and that's enough for me in a tractor. Um, I don't mind doing it, but I couldn't see myself sitting in a tractor all day drilling. I enjoy, and I really enjoy regenerative farming and learning all that side of it, and the importance of having sheep in that rotation. So no, I can't see myself coming away from sheep. Where I end up with a level of employment to my own sheep, I don't know,
Yeah,
because like round here, there's not the tenancies at all.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I couldn't fall into a council tenancy rent like farm. They just don't exist. So it'd mean leaving, and I love this area, and I wouldn't want to leave the area. So
that's what everyone in your part of the world says.
yeah, it's Oxfordshire. Why would you want to leave? I wouldn't want to go at all. So I could, at the minute, like if I hadn't have taken a job on, I would have expanded the flock much quicker. Um, but now I get my sheep fix every single day of the week.
Yeah,
There's no need to expand them, so I will just tick along with the ewes. I'm breeding my own replacements now, so I will obviously naturally increase because I'm keeping X amount each year.
yeah.
And then just see where it goes. Work has got so many plans with wanting to add extra farms into the business,
Oh wow.
and so
Okay.
much to come. Yeah, like there's new ideas thrown towards me on a weekly basis. So um, I'll ride out that and see where that all comes, and just live each day as it comes. I genuinely have no plan. As long as I'm farming sheep now, I'm happy, and running the dog, so we're fine.
That's great. Let's talk about some bigger farming issues. I mean, what for you is the biggest issue in farming at the moment? And I mean, you can go in different directions in this, but
Wow,
what would
how
you
long
like
have
to
we got?
profile? It's a massive question.
I think for me, don't get me wrong, the worry of farm food shortages and unfair prices are massive ones. So don't feel like they're not on my agenda. But my biggest one is education and getting the next generation in.
Okay.
I think I read somewhere the other day, like 3% of farmers in the UK are under 31. Well, that's terrifying if that's true, to think that there's only that many people coming into the industry. So I think education is my biggest passion in the broader, and that sort of very broad, is in educating people to come into the industry, and also educating them on how farming works and what actually happens behind the farm gate, is my biggest like passion, and want to talk about, and yeah, and encourage the next generation is my biggest thing I want to do.
Yeah. Are you involved in Farmer Time?
No, I'm not. I am going to
You
do
should
a.
sign up.
I know I'm about to do my own. Like, somebody approached me off Instagram and asked me to do a Zoom with a school.
Ah, brilliant.
So I'm going to do that. See how I get on with that one. I really
Mr.
should.
Martin. Let's talk about yellow wellies for a bit, which you mentioned a bit earlier on. But so you're an ambassador with them. What does that look like on the ground? What do you do in that role?
So very sadly, wow, it's more so on what I want to do. So I do like as much as I want to on social media and promoting it on that side. And then we're probably busiest during Farm Safety Week.
Yeah.
So like answering the phone to radio interviews or TV interviews, and just promoting yellow wellies as much and as little as we want to, basically, and then just sort of talking about mental health side of it, and cod safety, and loads of things. So um, yeah, to be honest, I haven't done a great deal with them recently, but yeah, it's sort of like all these things, it fluctuates, and you put in as much as you want to put in, really.
And you have been in the past a student and young farmer ambassador for the NFU. We had Bizza Walters actually on a few weeks back, who is in that role at the moment.
Yeah,
What? Tell me about that experience and what that involved.
that was great. It really gave me like a leg up. I think people, especially locally, were like, okay, he's pretty serious on farming now, because my face kept turning up in the NFU magazine or the Farmers Guardian, the Farmers Weekly. Like, I'd get like the older farmers locally who were like, ah, he messed around with a few sheep. He's now clearly the NFU are backing him. So yeah, again, we put in as much as we wanted to put in. There was like 5 dates that we had to attend. So we went to the NFU conference. We went down to London for the Lord Mayor's show, which is probably one of the best things I've ever done within farming, but outside of a field, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple of other things we went and did, wrote an article for them. And then the rest of it was sort of like as much as we wanted to. So the press office would get inquiries if they want a young farmer to do a talk on something, and then they would ring around us and say, is anybody free? And I still do bits with the NFU on that basis, locally and then nationally as well. Like, I seem to do loads of phone calls about the droughts in the summer.
Yeah.
Like, for 2 weeks, they were ringing me nearly every day with a radio interview or on a newspaper. So yeah, still linked with the NFU on what, if they need a younger generation farmer, they'll potentially sometimes ring me and do that. So
Okay.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed like radio work, TV work, if I'm lucky enough to do it. Yeah, I really enjoy doing that side of it.
We're going to start to wrap things up, and we always finish the show with the same 2 questions, which I'm going to ask you now. The first is, Karl, if you have a message for the public, any message, what would it be?
Very simply, look for that Union Jack when you're buying food.
Very good. And a message for farmers?
Support the next generation. If you get the opportunity to help a young person with a leg up into farming, whether that's giving them another contact, giving them that small block of grazing that you don't really use, or you could do giving someone a hand, yeah, help that next generation and then encourage them into the industry, because frankly, we need all the help we can get.
Well, thank you, Karl, so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure meeting you.
It's been great fun. Thank you very much.
If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the show wherever you're listening. Please also support us on Patreon. You can join the Meet the Farmers Supporters Club by visiting patreon.com/Meet the Farmers. Next week will be the last show of the year, and we have our traditional big farming quiz of the year, which I always look forward to. We'll have Gareth Wynne-Jones, Emmeline Orton, Guy Smith, and another special guest to be confirmed. I hope you can join me then. I'm Ben Eagle. This has been Meet the Farmers. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you all have a great week.